Welcome back, everyone. Our next session is presented by Katherine Pratt and her group of expert panelists. It's titled Building a Number One Club. Katherine Pratt was a District 4 director when District 4 was the largest district in the world. She's a member of 4 clubs and loves to give back to her Toastmasters community. She believes that Toastmasters is a team effort, which is why she enjoys working with the panel experts and would like to share her tips for club growth and success. Let's welcome her and her esteemed panel of experts as they tell you all about how to build a number one club.
Welcome, everyone, and welcome to the session on how to build a number one club. Now, I'm hoping that we're going to be adding our panelists to the spotlight as well, because they are the stars of this show. If you are looking to ways to power up your club in 2024, or for some new tips and tricks on helping to run a smooth and successful club, then this session is for you. We have a lot of different clubs in District 4. We've got corporate clubs, of course, and community clubs and specialty clubs. And because of that, there's not really one right answer on how to run a fantastic and high-performing number one club. So that's why I have a panel here of experts to help share our message. Now, how this session is going to run, I'm going to let our panelists, of course, introduce themselves. I will ask a few questions to get things started. And then if you have a question about how your club what they might do to help enhance itself this year, or something you'd like to specifically ask our panelists, I encourage you to add it to the chat, and then we'll try to get as many of those questions as we can get to as well. So let's go ahead and get the session started, and I'll start by introducing our panelists, tell you a little bit about them, and I'll ask them to share something briefly about themselves that attracted them to either Toastmasters or their club in general. So let's go ahead and get started. Our first panelist is Stephen Chin. Stephen joined Toastmasters in 2014 because he really had this powerful story that he wanted to tell, and which is why he belongs to 2 storytelling clubs. He currently belongs actually to 3 clubs: San Mateo Toastmasters Club 191, San Mateo Storytellers, and San Francisco Storytellers. Now, all of these clubs have achieved distinguished status for several years in the past. And Stephen's claim to fame arose for when he was working with San Francisco Storytellers. He helped to grow the club from 4 members to 13 members to achieve distinguished status within 6 months. And this not only earned him credit as club coach, and also the first District 4 Coach of the Year award in 2017. San Francisco Storytellers is still a President's Distinguished Club. And Stephen's going to share with you some of the many lessons he learned on this journey and keys to how you might achieve similar success in your own club. Steve, would you like to introduce yourself briefly?
Thank you, Katherine. As Katherine said, I joined Toastmasters because I wanted to tell a story in my own voice. And I have definitely learned how to tell my own story in my own voice through Toastmasters. But I've gained so much more through the leadership in Toastmasters, and that experience has helped me in so many more ways than I ever imagined in my family life and in my career as a physician. So wherever you are, if you work with people, communication and leadership skills are important in your life. And I think that it's something that I can't stress too much, because these are things that when you get involved, you will reap the benefits. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Steve. I think definitely that's something we need to continue to relay in our clubs as well. Our next panelist is Liz Spicer. She's with G-Toast. It's a corporate club in Foster City. And she's been a Toastmaster for almost 2 years. And she says that she has never really been shy, but has had some public speaking nerves in the past. She needed to polish up that business communication. And so Liz was talking to her boss, who suggested that she join Toastmasters, specifically G-Toast. And when she went to her first meeting in 2022, she watched this speech about cuckoo clocks, and she got hooked. So Liz took on the leadership role as well. She was elected Sergeant at Arms within her first 6 months. She ran the 2023 club and area speech contest, and then she chaired the 2023 district conference. She was elected now the president of her club in June, and she is currently at work on her presentation mastery level 3. Let's welcome Liz.
Thank you very much, Catherine. My name is Liz Spicer. I work at Gilead Sciences in external manufacturing and supply chain. As Catherine said, I have been a Toastmaster for about 2 years. So as Elaine said, I'm still a bit of a fledgling, but I got roped into leadership pretty early. I was the SAA my first year, and I'm still a little upset that there isn't a ceremonial mace that goes along with the Sergeant at Arms role. Pro tip. I jumped right in. I started helping scheduling meetings. I started planning events, and I just started saying yes to things. And people noticed that, took blatant advantage, and all of a sudden I'm the president of the club. It's been a great year so far. Not to brag or anything, but we're already at 7 of our DCP goals, and I've got my eye on 10. So thank you very much. Back to you, Catherine.
Thank you, Liz. I think definitely the idea of saying yes is incredibly important, and conveying that to our club members as well. Our third panelist is Edna Wallace. She joined San Carlos Toastmasters in 2017 because she was terrified of being a wedding officiant for a good friend's wedding. Well, the wedding and the officiating went well. The marriage, not so much, because it's now over. But the real surprise for Edna was Toastmasters. And much to her own surprise, Edna discovered that she actually loved it. The club, people, structure, speech challenges, leadership roles. She really likes the storytelling aspect and the creativity of table topics. And so now she's involved in 2 clubs. San Mateo Toastmasters 191, where she's VP of membership, and San Carlos Toastmasters, where she serves as president. Edna, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you, Kat. Hi, everyone. I'm Edna Wallace, and I was not wanting to join Toastmasters. My husband joined before me, way before me, and I thought, oh, it's his thing. But I was terrified of public speaking, and I used to take a beta block every time I had to do that, which I no longer have to do. And then once I joined Toastmasters for that specific purpose of overcoming my fear for this wedding, because I was officiant, I saw, hey, there's some things about this I really love. And one of the things is telling stories. I realized that I really like that. And just the leadership and the humor and the high energy and good vibes. And I was kind of roped into leadership from the beginning. Our VPM at San Carlos was not happy and left. And I was substitute VPM, so I became the VPM. And I'm much more familiar with that role, but I have also been elected president for San Carlos Toastmasters. So I think that's pretty exciting, and it's fun planning events, and it's fun working with the team. So I get a lot out of it, my Toastmasters experience.
Thank you, Edna. I think we all come to Toastmasters for different reasons, and then we stay for various reasons too. So I think that shows a lot of what you can get out of the club. Our final panelist is Paul Wallace. He joined originally Price Waterhouse Toastmasters back in Sydney in 1980s, which means he's been a Toastmaster forever. However, Paul left the Sydney club after 3 years to go walkabout and to travel to far distance European and Asian countries. After that, he met his wife. Yeah, it's Edna on our panel. And they started a family, began work, fatherhood, housekeeping. So he had 0 time in his life. But in 2014, Paul rejoined Toastmasters, and he's been involved ever since. He's currently he's been a member of several clubs, including San Mateo Toastmasters, San Carlos Toastmasters, Point of Order, and Ring Central Toastmasters, which he actually helped establish. Paul has served in every role. He had a club role, and he's especially enjoys being the VP of Education. So he's currently VP at San Carlos and San Mateo, and Paul also holds 2 DTMs. Paul, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure, thank you, Kat. I should say why I joined Toastmasters in the first place, and I must honestly admit it was because of a girl, Ann Cowan. I thought it was very cute, and it was a chance to share the car from where we lived into it was an hour and back, so I thought that was a pretty good deal. And that didn't work out, obviously, Edna, but what did work out that I had a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the group, and prepared speeches, table topics, evaluation, it was all there. So I really enjoyed it. And after getting the kids out of the house and various other things, I really wanted to get back to Toastmasters. So I really enjoyed it, and I not just participating, but also enjoy the opportunity to give something back. And all the people who are on the panel here, I know, do the same thing.
Thank you to all of our panelists. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started with our first question. Remember, for the audience, if you have some questions that you want to ask any of our members about ways that you can enhance your club this year, feel free to put them into the chat. But we'll start off with the first question. And when you're thinking about key aspects of high-performing clubs, it's that strong and vibrant membership. So how has your club either attracted new members or retained existing members? And I think this time we'll start out with Steve.
So the club that I'm actually representing today would be San Francisco Storytellers. And that club, and who doesn't love a good story, right? So that is a great draw just in and of itself, that we focus on stories and storytelling. And I think that, of course, that's what attracts people to come visit the club. But what actually draws them to join the club is the fact that we have well-run meetings. They run on time. They're fun. They talk about, we have different things that make the meetings fun, and we recognize all our guests and ask them for feedback on how we can make our meetings better. So I think all these things add to the experience for them and let them know that it's a warm, inviting, and comfortable environment where you can make mistakes and learn from them.
Thank you. Would one of our other panelists like to jump in?
One thing that we've done in San Carlos Toastmasters is we've had a couple of open houses, and they're advertised, and we use Nextdoor to talk about that and meet up on various other sites, and they've been well attended. We've got a number of members from that, and in our open house we do a mini meeting, and then we feature a speech. And I remember one speech that was really good, where it was about a woman's progress from being very, very timid and hiding behind the taller members of the club to loving Toastmasters and spreading the word and starting her own business. And so that kind of testimony, and also the open house, that has been helpful in attracting members. And the other thing is that we always write to guests and welcome them back. We include them in the beginning and the end of the meeting by saying, how do they find the club and what did they think of the meeting, etc. So those are some things we do.
Great. It's always good to get guests engaged in your meetings. Liz?
Sure. I'm going to echo a lot of the things that Steve and Edna said. Have well-run, well-timed meetings, welcome your guests, get feedback. I'm a little bit lucky because I have a captive audience as a corporate club. So if people think, I want to join Toastmasters, they have an easy outlet. But we also do open houses, we do speaker series, we do collaborations with other corporate entities, and we've had a lot of success drawing new people in.
Anything else to add, Paul, or should we go on? All right, we'll go on to our second question. We'll start with you, Paul. A key component of strong clubs is that you're always working, because Toastmasters is an educational organization, you're working on those educational goals. So how do you encourage new members to get involved? And then how do you include all your how do you encourage your members to give speeches? And we'll start with Paul, since you are a VPE.
Yeah, thank you, Catherine. I guess to start with your second question, what I tend to do is twice a year ask all the members, new and old, what are your objectives? Because I find that if people actually put it down in writing, they're much more likely to follow up. And, you know, what's your objectives in terms of how many levels you'd like to do during the Toastmasters year? What particular things you're wanting to improve on, like fear of table topics, something like that. And finally, development in terms of leadership. So would you be interested in a club leadership role or apprenticing, things like that? And then around the new year, I send a follow-up to people and just say, okay, I'm not going to tell you what you committed to 6 months ago because I don't want to embarrass anybody, but hey, what would you like to recommit to for the next 6 months? And that's been very effective. There's several other things I do, but just in the interest of time, I won't go into that. But just to answer your first question about involving new members, we have, for both clubs, a very structured admission process. And, you know, we've got an email which sets out everything people have to do. So we communicate that to people. Most people follow it, but for the people who don't, we then follow up, right, at meetings and just say, hey, you're sort of stuck, is something not working out? And generally it's just the press of other events in their life, you know, they're busy with family or work or stuff like that.
Someone else on the panel want to answer about how you get people involved in that educational side of Toastmasters?
Well, as Paul was saying, the role of VPE is very important, that when he sets it out with every member and then tracks them. So he keeps you accountable. And we also say that it benefits the club. We make sure that we say it, that, you know, if they achieve a level, they give a point to a club, and it's good for us, it's good for them. And we'll have, sometimes at San Carlos Toastmasters, we'll have an educational meeting, especially for new members, on pathways, because it can be confusing. So how to get started and where you'd like to start. And we'll have a special orientation for new members on that.
I think that the new orientation into just club and pathways is a good way to get people up and running, for sure. Anything else? Well, I know that a couple of you have already touched on this as well, is that strong clubs really show strong leadership. Now, how does your club encourage people to get involved in that leadership aspect of Toastmasters? And I know, Liz, you were definitely tapped on the shoulder right away. How does your club encourage people to get involved in that section?
Hi, Catherine. Like you said, I was tapped on the shoulder, and a number of the rest of us were too. And I have found that the best way to get people to take leadership roles is to ask. You ask the club, you ask people individually, you ask small groups, you just ask, and you'll get some no's. Of course you will. But you keep asking, and then sometimes you'll get a yes. So, and I have a little thing here, there's a saying, some people are born great, some people achieve greatness, and some people have greatness thrust upon them. And sometimes leadership is a little bit like that. Sometimes you have to just thrust leadership upon someone and they'll just step up and take it. Sometimes it just works.
Definitely asking is the key to that for sure. Does somebody else like to speak on this idea of leadership and what it's like to work with a team?
Yeah,
Steve?
actually, I always tell people that, I always try to ask people what they want to get out of their experience with Toastmasters. Why did they join? And most people will say they joined for public speaking. But then, if you get into understanding who they are, what they do in life, really you can highlight the importance of leadership for them. Because if they're in any kind of a job where they work with people, communication skills, learning to evaluate people, learning to give feedback to people, and handle difficult conversations is an important leadership skill that you don't get from just giving speeches. You get that from actually having leadership experience, and that starts at the club level and can progress through the district level where you take on greater responsibilities. But I think that if you can get people to understand what's in it for them, they will step up more readily. Because, being an officer, it's work. There's no question about it. There's some work to it. But you get out of something what you put into it. And when you put in a good effort and do a good job and see the club progress and grow because of your efforts, and you learn along the way, sometimes through your mistakes, but you do learn along the way. And Toastmasters is one of the safest places where you can make mistakes. You make these same kind of mistakes at your job, you might get fired, but at Toastmasters, you can make these mistakes. And as my coach, my speaking coach, Lance Miller, once told me, Toastmasters has some of the most dysfunctional people that you'll find anywhere. I mean, granted, there's that, it's a small segment, but there are some very dysfunctional people within Toastmasters in the organization. And they can make mistakes in Toastmasters and grow without being fired. So that's how safe a place it is. And so leadership is the way that you will grow as a person. And you only do that through experience.
Thank you for that. I think part of being a leader is being able to work with that team environment too. And that's really what helps your club be able to be successful. Can someone talk about the working of the team together and how it's really helped their club? Into that. Edna?
I think that's really important to work as a team together. And as president, we have meetings in the beginning of the year and then a couple during the year. And we're always talking about how to improve our sessions and how to grow membership and what people are finding in their leadership roles, and also the whole idea of succession. For instance, in the other club, a San Mateo club, Toastmaster I belong to, our president is very intent on telling people that to think about leadership now, even though the year is still going. So in 6 months' time, we'll be looking for new leaders, and we'll be looking for people to step up who are interested. And there are people, newer members who've been very active and who are intrigued by this. And we sort of tap them too, a little bit like what Liz was saying. When they seem involved, we tap them and ask them about leadership. I think just asking is is the most direct way. And yeah, you'll get no's, but you will get a couple of yeses too.
Thank you so much for that. All right. Well, one thing that really attracts people to clubs is that they have strong, fun, educational meetings. So what kind of fun or creative ideas or special meetings do your clubs have that encourage that camaraderie within your clubs? I don't think we've started with Ed yet, so we'll go ahead and start with you if you have something to add to that, and then anyone else.
At St. Carlos Toastmasters, we like to celebrate the holidays sometimes. So we have a holiday party today. Last year, the holiday party was at a person's home up in Woodside, and it was just a very informal gathering, and it was fun, and it was open to every member of the club. We had a number of people, and we had one that was. We've had the open houses can be quite fun. And as I say, we involve the guests there. Other fun activities we sometimes bring in a little bit of food to share, not often, but just enough to highlight that that's a special occasion for it and the things to celebrate. So those are some of the fun things we've done before.
Great. Somebody else? Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, a couple of things we do in terms of the educational programming is it's nice to mix things up every now and again. Like most of the time you want to follow the standard agenda because that keeps people used to the standard agenda. But, you know, we've done all sorts of things like running the meeting in reverse. That's always fun to do. It's kind of tests everybody's ability to actually do it. And if people work out that you can actually say what somebody's going to have to do, then they have to actually do that in their speech or whatever. That's a lot of fun. And but just shuffling the order around is good too. Having people come in. We had Elaine come in and do a couple of improv workshops, which were fun. We have had people come in and do evaluation workshops in the past. Somebody did a presentation, I think, on organizing speech. Anyway, you get the idea, right? Guest speakers, things like that. Oh, and also before the International Speech Contest, sometimes people visit and they'll take an opportunity to practice their speeches. And that's really helpful for them, but it's also helpful for the members to see really top-notch speakers.
Thank you for that. Liz?
Yeah. Food. Free food. Everybody loves food. Pizza will do the trick with a few side dishes. Food. Anyway, also we have similar outreach sessions. Because we're a corporate club, we have a sort of built-in source of people to come speak to us. We've had 2 different people who report directly to the CEO, and it just brings people in. So yes, bringing in interesting and engaging guests will bring in more membership. But food is really the bottom line.
Steve, were you going to say something? Steven?
Yeah, I agree with food. Unfortunately, San Francisco Storytellers is a virtual only club, so it's really difficult to have food.
We did that once on Zoom where we gave some presents in advance to some people who drove it to their home, and then they opened it, and there were food items. They opened it and consumed it in the meeting, so that was kind of fun.
Well, so in lieu of food, San Francisco Storytellers does some interesting tale topics. So our tale topics is a little different from table topics in that we go from 1 to 3 minutes at San Francisco Storytellers instead of the 1 to 2 minutes, because we want people to tell stories. And sometimes we'll change it up with like Chain of Pearls kind of things. I don't know how many of you have attended Joe's session on storytelling this morning, but we'll do sometimes a chain of pearls, which is, you start with one person who introduces a character, creates a new character, and then the next person selected chooses, the change in their life or the need in their life, the next segment of the story. And then, you choose someone to carry on the next segment of the story and until the conclusion. So it's it gives people a little bit different experience than standard table topics. And that's, we do things like that every so often just to change things up. But overall, it does make things more fun. And because we are a virtual only club, we do actually have in-person events once in a while, but those are special events where we can have food. And having that personal interaction with other people in person is just so valuable to have, to maintain that connection. If you can do that, even if you're only meeting virtually all the time, once in a while having a special event where you get together and see people in person and just shake their hand and share food with them and have a good conversation outside of a standard meeting. And it builds camaraderie and it builds a bond within your club. So I highly recommend it.
Definitely, that personal connection is always enhanced when you get to finally see somebody that you might not have seen online, or you may have only seen online. If maybe you just joined Toastmasters and it only has been online. I got a private chat message here about a question that somebody has, and they said our club is in a rebuilding stage right now. So I'm assuming that's like building up, changing, from increasing their memberships. What kind of tips would you offer this club as they're trying to increase engagement and members in the next, for the next 6 months? Someone wants to. I know, Paul, you started a club. Like, what kind of things did you do to help start that process?
Yeah, in fact, I've helped start a couple of corporate clubs, so the setting is a little different. In a corporation, so I'll answer that. So in corporation, it's key to find executive sponsorship, right? So normally HR is an obvious place to start people. Another thing you can look at is sales or marketing, those areas often. And in both cases, people and sales and marketing were interested. Once that happens, it's pretty easy, right? You can get the budget sorted out. And then, of course, it's a matter of finding people. And you're always going to get people who are ordered to do it. And that's great. But you need to find a core of people who actually want to do it. Because people come and go, but you need that core. And so typically, at least it used to be 20, right, to charter a club. So I'd always look for 30 because I thought that gave me safety, because you tend to have a drop in membership. And then it's just a matter of promoting it. Find a few other people who are involved with district, people that just get into a steady cadence of meetings. Anyway, I'll see if the others have anything to add. So.
Go ahead, Steve.
So actually, when I joined the San Francisco Storytellers as their club coach, they were totally in a rebuilding phase. There was only 4 members and they really had to rebuild. The hard part was there 4 members. They had 8 members on file, but only 4 members were actually active. And the other 4 were not even attending meetings. So really there was only 4 members in the club. And it was really difficult but we started with commitment. And if you have a small club, small membership, you got to get commitment from pretty much every member in that club to work toward helping rebuild it, inviting friends, and getting them to, just commit to putting some work into changing things up, because there's a reason why the club needs to rebuild. You have to brainstorm about, what could be better. And when we started rebuilding that club, the club met every week, but we also had action committee meetings every week outside the club meetings, where we talked about what went well in the last meeting, what can we do better. And it comes down to meeting quality. If the meeting runs organized, on time, is fun. People who visit will want to stay. They'll want to come back again. And those members who join, they'll stay engaged and they'll stay with the club. And you can strengthen that bond through mentorship programs in your club. But overall, the basic cornerstone of rebuilding any club starts with meeting quality. If your meeting quality is consistent and good, warm and welcoming, you will eventually rebuild that club. The next step, of course, is getting people to know that your club exists and come and visit. But once that meeting quality is there, then you just have to advertise it, and the visitors will stay.
Thanks, Steve. Liz, so real quickly, and then we have one more question that was sent to me too.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
In one of my other lives, I've been a part of a group that needed rebuilding. One of the things that I want to say you really have to have is something that is in it for other people. You have to have a reason for existing and something that can only be fulfilled by your group. And like Steve said, it's going to be a lot of work. You're going to have to really commit to it, but you really have to know what your group provides that is different, that is a draw for other people.
I like that idea. One of a former trainer that I used to in Toastmasters used to always call that your special sauce or your secret sauce. Like what's your club's secret sauce that that really attracts you to that club. I definitely think that if you're having that ability of trying to find members to have fun-filled, vibrant clubs, is to reach out to our club growth team as well. I'm sure that there are people in that they can help connect you to other Toastmasters that might be able to do a club visit, just so you have bodies in the room, especially if they're virtual, or if you're virtual, or even if you're hybrid, whatever. But the more bodies in a room, the more exciting and vibrant your meetings definitely feel. And reach out to the club growth team for that. So I have an interesting question that's here, and I know I have a thought on it, but I was wondering if any of you have this idea. If we have any advice with dealing with difficult situations. So that would be something that might be causing a conflict within clubs, like maybe an officer not doing their duties satisfactorily, maybe there's disputes between members, or members that are making people feel uncomfortable. Now, these are all things that make your club feel kind of ooey. So do we have suggestions of how we might have dealt with that in the past?
Well, I have a
Oh,
story.
go ahead. Yes.
We had in St. Carl's Toastmaster a difficult member. She was disruptive and she was very negative in evaluations. And she tended to also get upset at someone's offhand comments. So I was not president at the time, but the president at the time realized this and took full responsibility for it and met with her privately and told her some of the, objectively factual things that she was doing that was antithetical to the club's philosophy, like disrupting and like being very, very negative, so much so that a person didn't come back, and making comments so much so that one person was thinking of leaving. And she got a little indignant about that, and she decided not to return. But the president, through a private chat, took care of it, and we're very grateful to him for having done that. So that's one thing, private chat,
Thank you for that. I think definitely not ignoring it is a key here. Anyone else had an experience with this? For sure. Yeah, go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, when I think it's very good for the president to be the person who handles that kind of thing, and I agree with Edna. I think doing it privately, it's kind of respectful to the person, and it could be something very serious, which is what I think Edna's alluding to, or it could be just somebody's been a little inappropriate or been a little careless about something where they might just need to be reminded of ground rules. But yeah, so private is good, and also immediate. Don't let it drag on.
Yeah, you don't want things to stew. Liz?
One more thing, come at it with empathy. Because everybody's the star of their own story and nobody wants to be told, you're so bad.
Love it. Definitely. We'll take this last question that's here in the chat from Dimitri. So he's really expanding on Steve's remark about hybrid is kind of the new normal of things. Now, I know some of our clubs are meeting specifically in person, some are only meeting online, but how do we have any insights on how to get members out of Zoom just back into those in-person meetings? I mean, some of us on this stage right here, or not stage, but in the call, may have only known in-person Zoom meetings. So how do we entice people to come back to in-person meetings if that is the thing? Go ahead, Steve.
Two things. Most people who join Toastmasters join because they wanted to learn public speaking. And I can tell you, as a person who's done a lot of public speaking, that you get the most satisfaction actually having an audience that you can see, that you can get feedback from just through the reactions to your speech. And you can't do that on Zoom. It just doesn't work that well because you're looking at a camera and it doesn't really give you any feedback. In person, you can make eye contact, you can see their expressions, you can tell how you're reading your audience. And one of the most important qualities of a strong public speaker is understanding your audience, because you have to know which kind of audience you're speaking to, and you have to be able to roll with the punches. If your jokes aren't going over well, if if the point that you're trying to make doesn't seem to be setting in, then you have to kind of change gears a little bit and adjust. And that's the quality that the best public speakers have. They can read an audience and roll with it. So those are qualities that you won't develop on screen. That, and of course, as Liz mentioned, food.
Okay. And we've got about 5 more minutes left. I wanted to give our panelists a chance to say something that either they haven't been able to say yet, or encourage something that's just that they are passionate about their club. So something either, so the question is something you haven't been had a chance to share with us yet that you think would really help enhance people's clubs, or something that you specifically love about your club. And this will be our last question. We'll go ahead and start for each of you. So quick, 1 to 2 minutes. Go ahead. I'll start with, I don't know, Paul, you look ready. Paul.
Oh, okay. What do I love about the club? So I just love the energy. The energy level is what keeps bringing me back, and having an opportunity to feel all the energy from the people in the club and being able to contribute something to that. So
energy is fantastic. Liz.
I have loved being a part of my club. G-Toast has been a great part of my Gilead career so far. And one of the things I want to say is that I have a great team. I have an excellent team of officers. And that's one of the things I want to make a point about leadership is you're not doing this alone. You have a team behind you. You have support. And that's one of the things that's really helpful in trying to do anything like this is that you have a good team behind you.
Love that idea, especially when we've come from officer training. We get together with our teams and really it's supporting each other and building something up incredible together. I think that's great. Edna?
Well, I want to firstly echo what Steve and Liz have said, and actually Paul too. For me, I love the energy as well. I have a great team at San Carlos Toastmasters, very, very willing officers. I think everyone was here today. And they take it on. So just to remember that there are 7 people and you can kind of distribute the load. So that's really important. The other thing is I just like the kind of opportunity to read the audience. Oh yes, this is what I wanted to say. You have to remember that it's now 2023 and people have had what, 3 or 4 years of being in front of Zoom. So as VPM for my other club, I hear over and over, I'm tired of Zoom. I'm sick of Zoom. I want to see people. I want to hear them. I want to feel them. I only want to attend an in-person meeting. So you have to remember that some people are really Zoom fatigued and they're ready to do something in person. They might be longing for that in-person connection. So I just wanted to throw that out there too.
Thank you. And Steve, your final thought.
Well, I'd have to say storytelling. I've already said this before, but storytelling is, to me, the most engaging part of any speech. And if you tell a good story that captivates your audience and holds their attention for the entire speech, your message will be remembered. Not just heard, but remembered. And learning to craft new stories and engaging stories is my passion. And it's the passion of my fellow storytellers in my club as well. So that's what I love about my clubs. And that's what I love about competing, because I hear great stories from other competitors and get to tell my own. Thanks.
Well, I want to thank all of our fantastic panelists, Paul, Stephen, Liz, and Edna, for your time. Thank you to those of you who submitted questions, and I have enjoyed leading this. So when you go out through this year, 2024, thinking about how to revitalize your club, think about engaging and building your membership and those educational goals and fantastic camaraderie and just the fun aspect of your clubs. I think that when you think about running these exciting, well-run meetings, your club is going to thank you for it in this year.
Oh, you're muted.
Press the wrong button. If you have further questions, you can email me at that Katherine.toastmaster email, and I can connect you with people who might be able to help invigorate your clubs in the coming year. I'll turn it back to our TLI experts. Thank you so much to our panel, and thank you for being here today.
Great job, Katherine and team. Thank you so much for your time. I know we all learned so much, so appreciate you. Thank you.